Let's be honest, choosing the wrong chart for your data can be embarrassing. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be. In this video, I'm going to show you the only 4 charts you actually need and why it's easier than you think to get it right. Let's start with the column chart. This is your go-to when you need to compare categories side by side. And the reason it works so well is because it makes it easy to spot the differences. However, a common mistake people make is sorting the data alphabetically based on the axis labels instead of sorting it based on the values. This simple change can speed up interpretation, focus attention on the most important points, and allow for quicker comparison across the categories. For example, if we go back to the first chart, it's difficult to know whether bikes or components are bigger with a quick glance, whereas when they're sorted, it's immediate. The next mistake people make is not starting the vertical axis at 0. We consciously compare the heights of the columns, so starting the axis above 0 exaggerates the differences between them, and here we can see vendor B appears to be 2/3 bigger than vendor C, when it's actually closer to 1/3 bigger. So always start your vertical axis on column charts at 0. If you're measuring against a target, you can align columns on top of one another with one filled and one an outline to create a thermometer effect like this with actual and budget values. Alternatively, you can use a marker to indicate the target value. And if you have a lot of categories or the labels are long, instead of making your audience tilt their head to read them, flip the chart on its side. In Excel, this is called a bar chart, but essentially it's still a column chart, so the axis starting point should still be 0. A common mistake people make with this type of data is using a pie chart. There are simply way too many segments for this chart to be useful. Another form of column chart is a histogram, which groups the data into bins of equal size, allowing you to understand the distribution of your data. For example, this histogram displays the distribution of student grades, with the height of the column showing the count of grades in each bin. The next essential chart is the line chart, which is great for visualizing data over time. They're commonly used to display stock prices, and unlike column charts, you can start the axis above 0 because we're accustomed to referring to the axis labels to determine the line position. Now, line charts work best with continuous data, so make sure your time intervals are evenly spaced. Don't overcrowd the chart with too many lines. Ideally, stick with 2 to 3 data series for comparison. Any more, and it's just too difficult to follow. However, if you have a lot of series that you want to display, it's better to break them out into their own charts. Here, the charts all have their own vertical axis scale, so you can't compare them like for like. If that's important to you, then make sure the vertical axis scales are all the same, and when the axes are all the same, you don't need them repeated on every chart. Here, the charts on the right side share the vertical axis of the charts on the left, and only the bottom charts have the horizontal axis. Many try to use a line chart for categorical data. This is a common error. Line charts are showing changes over related data, like time. They're not for comparing unrelated data like categories or sales regions. If you have categorical data, then go with a bar chart instead. If your job involves creating reports and you'd like to take them to the next level, my Excel dashboard course will teach you how to create dynamic professional dashboards that update themselves with one click. So whether you're working with complex data sets or you just want to impress your team, this course will guide you through every step, from raw data to polished visuals. It comes with example and practice files, plus support and mentoring from me personally. So check out the link in the description and start building powerful dashboards today. The next essential chart is the pie chart, and this is probably the most misused chart. Pie charts show parts to a whole, so make sure the segments are sorted from largest to smallest, starting at 12 o'clock and moving clockwise. They should be limited to 5 or fewer segments, otherwise they just become too hard to read. Another pitfall to avoid is using 3D pie charts. They look fancy, but they distort proportions and they make your data harder to understand. For example, here the value of the red segment is smaller than the orange segment, but it doesn't look that way. For a more modern look, consider using a donut chart, which allows you to also include the total in the center. If you have segments that are similar sizes like we have here with bikes and components, it's very difficult in a pie chart to tell which is bigger. So you end up having to read the labels which slows down interpretation. In which case, you're better off using a column or bar chart sorted in ascending or descending order so that it's quicker to interpret. Another common mistake is using multiple pie charts to compare categories and then segments within categories. Instead, use a stacked column chart. This shows both the different size of each category, and we can see here how much the USA portion is. However, avoid too many segments because only the first segment is comparable across the categories, and the chart just becomes slow to interpret. Finally, let's talk about the last chart you need, which is the scatter plot. These are perfect for showing relationships between two variables. If you're looking to see how one factor affects another, like how marketing spend influences sales growth, a scatter plot is the best tool for the job. They're also useful for identifying outliers and clusters in your data. But be careful plotting too many data points or data that's tightly clustered. Try using a logarithmic scale to make patterns more visible. And if you're comparing multiple sets of data, use different colors or shapes for each series. Scatter plots can be confusing. If it's not immediately clear what each axis represents, be sure to label your axes clearly. And if you have a third variable to represent, consider using bubble charts. The size of each bubble can show an additional dimension. In this example, the position of the bubbles represents the relationship between the sales value and number of products, with the bubble size representing the percentage of market share. So there you have the 4 core charts you need to create clear, impactful visuals and the common pitfalls to avoid. Now there's another mistake that almost every user makes, and it's easy to fix. So check out this video next where I walk you through it. Plus, I've included a free file to make things even easier. I'll see you there.